are you? And I
Mhm.
know you're really excited about our guest today.
Yeah, super excited. Very good colleague and friend that I have the pleasure of introducing today, Michelle Padula of SBE Media. She's running an amazing marketing consulting company and ultimately has some great tips for us as she's been in the industry for a number of years and doing big impact for a lot of brands. So thanks for coming on to the show, Michelle. It's a pleasure having you on.
No, thank you. Thank you, Chris. And thank you, Neil, for having me on. It's a pleasure.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So, about the Growth Labs podcast, right? We're all about learning the entrepreneur story. And really, what love to just kick us off with is, how did you get started with SBE Media, right? Because that's not where you made your first initial debut. And, what were those humble beginnings for you?
Yeah, no. And I saw that was a great question. Honestly, I was fortunate as a teenager to, participate, to work alongside a CEO of a technology company. This is back in the 90s. And got to do a project, volunteer basis, for my community. And, from there that led to, working in the IT space. And I've had the pleasure of being in executive level positions, whether it be in IT, operations, marketing. And so, uh, being younger, it was a side hustle that, people and businesses and, community organizations needed help doing these little digital projects here and there, which is what SBE stands for, is Small Business Electronic Media
Oh,
Consulting. So just helping with anything from, websites to campaigns to billboards to print material, things like that. And so, after I left corporate, I just kept the name because, my heart was there, and that's where we're at today.
that's
Fantastic.
awesome.
And basically, what do you think is differentiates you from your competition?
So I think part of the differentiation, even though there's a focus in marketing, I do have expertise in IT, data systems, networking, as well as because of that, have had to learn operations of all various organization types and industries, as well as that marketing piece and having the depth of knowledge in human behavior, mental health, trauma-informed care. So I sit sort of at the center of where IT operations and marketing overlap. And so, my services can go in depth into the marketing perspective from various range, whether it's healthcare or specifically into specific industries, and then be able to leverage and support those marketing initiatives from an IT infrastructure or an operational capacity standpoint.
I love that. We talked offline really about some of that core vision that you set out for SB Media, and it seems like so far your biggest niches have been those government agencies and healthcare, right? How sort of that vision sort of evolved for you over the years into what you do now?
Yeah, and so from a healthcare perspective, I think, we're so conditioned to think that healthcare is just clinical and medicine, right? And so that clinical intervention with your doctor and then, taking prescription meds. And so there's trending now in healthcare where, we know that only 20% of your ability to be well is attributed to clinical. So the rest of that is what happens in your community, right? So where you live, do you have access to food? Exercise, parks, education, gainful employment, things of that nature. And so again, with that love of community, being able to work with organizations on, okay, well, how do you help people now be well, and live their best life in their community? And so where government doesn't necessarily think of themselves as a provider of health care, because again, we automatically think healthcare is clinical only. It's how do we now engage government entities that provide services that fall within that additional 80% of what makes you well, so that they're more engaged and connected with the resident, and specifically in the mental health area. So since COVID, we've seen demand for mental health services.
Yeah.
And again, how do you communicate something that someone doesn't necessarily know what it looks like, feels like, smells like, tastes like, right? Same thing as a diet. Okay, you got to go on a diet, you got to go on a diet. Well, what does that look like? What does that taste like? What is the experience like? And so knowing those things in depth, plus understanding community and resident engagement, is being able to tie those specific marketing pieces together so that, you know, communities can engage and support residents in the community to get them or connect them to services that already exist there, to
Yeah.
again provide that 80% of wellness so a person can be well and thrive in their community.
And what you see is specifically enough, the messaging is the way for the community to find out.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for example, you know, if we take the blanket term, oh, you know, new trends say you need to go on a diet. Okay, well, how do I know I need to go on a diet? Or, oh, here's mental health services. Well, how do I know that I need mental health services? So instead of using the terminology, those high level terminology, let's peel back the onion a little bit and we talk about what does it look like, right? What does healthy behavior look like? Um, and what does unhealthy behavior look like? So someone knows how to identify it, and then also breaking some of the stigmas too and making it okay to be, you know, to feel like you're not okay, right? And that there are resources to give you tools to help with that emotional balancing and you know, piece of it so that you can improve on your mental health.
You know, it sounds like to me the real true superpower that your business has is really being able to streamline those communication channels and that messaging for those larger public health service programs, right? And I think it's such a necessary need for people like you, right? We sometimes see that government agencies or sometimes even commercial medical firms may not put out the best message and or that may result in better campaigns or adoption to those services, right? So now that you guys have sort of evolved into some of those as your main offerings, can you talk a little bit more about just about like how you start putting together that marketing approach? Let's say I am a healthcare firm and here in this podcast, how do we really start engaging with you, and kind of what does like an early piece of your process look like?
Yeah, great question. I think the first really thing is what's the goal, right? And what's the goal from a measurable sense? So is it that you want, you know, 2,000 people to sign up for a program? Is it that you just want
Hmm.
awareness, right? So what is the goal and what are we measuring and how are we measuring it, right? And then from there, we start backing into segmenting the audience, right? So, you know, a marketing message, it's not one message fits all. So
Right.
you can communicate the same concepts to different audiences, and those different audiences can fall within that larger bucket of people that you want to engage for whatever your goal is, right? And so really that the goal setting and understanding your audience, the segments, and then within there, what are their values? What's important to them? What are their needs, right?
Hmm.
Then tailoring those specific messages around those segment of people's pain points or their needs, and also their perception of what you're talking about so that you can effectively engage them and hit that goal.
And what I think that you do is really what's quite interesting is your ability to take that those key messaging points and different things and be able to really fit the client. That's key, right? That's sometimes a missing component is the whole messaging. They put things out there without any plan. What will resonate for the representation?
Right. Yeah. And on that, Neil, you know, part of it, a lot of times, you know, it's just nature that, you know, we're businesses, organizations, like we're proud of what we do, right? Like we're
Hmm.
excited to say, hey, we offer this, right? Or, you know, we can provide this service or you can buy this product. But if you want people to truly engage with it, you just have to flip the context of it to one, message it in a way that resonates with them. And then also that you are providing, they have a need and you have a solution. So we have a solution to your need. And then you explain it in a way that they understand so that you're able to get that engagement versus, yes, just like a blanket messaging. And or it's just, hey, this is what we offer, but someone doesn't really know what to do with that, right? Like if
Yeah.
you say, oh, I get that, 8-cylinder car versus the 6-cylinder car, I have no idea what's the difference, right? So being
Yeah.
able to understand where your audience is at their current, understanding of what you're messaging, and then being able to put it in context, differentiate it, and provide that value proposition.
No, that's incredibly insightful, and thanks for really laying that out because I'm sure a lot of officials and teams are trying to figure out that way how to really put that messaging together, and sharing your process is really insightful. Um, One of the things that I was just sort of thinking about is, would love to hear one of the stories that you've had where you've implemented this with existing agency, and how do those benefits turn out for them?
Mhm.
Curious to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we have, it's in Illinois, a lot of mental health commissions that popped up, voted in by referendum, where township government can provide, uh, allocate funding to mental health resources within the community. And so again, it's an example of the resources are there, but people just don't know because we never talked about it, right? And so how do we, one, even though, yes, resident, you voted for this referendum, but understand that, hey, these resources are there for you, and then how to access them. And so having to do a multi-tiered, multi-pronged, marketing approach to one, just community and awareness campaigns, right? Of, hey, just so you know, you voted for this, this has been here, this is in place, this is for you, but then also the education and engagement piece where it's like, okay, now that we've created that awareness that this is here, let's peel back that onion. So like we talked about and say, but here, if you need these services, this is how you know you need these services, right? Like this is what positive or maybe detrimental mental health behaviors look like, and we have a solution for you, making a very easy call to action so that then those residents in the community can be triaged in a way and then help connect them to the resources they need. And that's that operational piece, right? Versus here, just go to this website. So we hooked you, but now go to the website and try to figure out what you need, right?
Yeah,
So
this is a
no,
township in Illinois, right? That
yeah,
you've done some
yeah,
great work for.
yeah. So
I don't know if you're still under wraps or not. Would it be worthwhile sharing who that who they are?
No, I'm not. It's in Cook County, I'll say that.
Okay, good
So
enough.
yeah, yeah. So again, is then aligning those pieces of the technology, the marketing, the operations, so that we are connecting, one, engaging the resident effectively, so that one, they are aware of what's there. Two, they know how to identify if they need to seek those services, and then operationally making some changes so that streamline from the resident perspective, and then using technology to connect them quickly, right? So that's an
Nice.
example of all three pieces. And so from an engagement standpoint, it's been very successful with, multitude of different media, from static posts to different video creations with live inclusions and animations and all things that we know are effective in order to, get information across quickly, and complex or new information quickly so that someone understands what you're saying in a very short
Yeah.
period of time.
Oh, that's
See that,
awesome.
and so it's almost like you provide in a way the communications that these organizations need that many people in the media just don't know.
Well, and I think perhaps generally speaking in the media they know, I think that in the health and wellness space, and especially with when we talk about mental health, I think there's still generally speaking, most people think of healthcare or wellness as going to my PCP, right? And so there's so much more to that. And I think where my, niche is being able to understand the depth of um, healthcare and where the intersectionality
Mhm.
is with the government services in combination with that, we'll just blanket call it marketing communications piece to really forge those two together. Whereas I think, media in general maybe isn't focused or tailoring to each of those specific niche areas.
Wow. So, we're all about here at Growth Labs, really about enabling our entrepreneurs, and you're building such an amazing venture and something that's definitely, core necessity to, how we operate in this modern world, right? What are some things that maybe someone listening in the audience, or maybe even we can, we'd love to hear about, what are some things that would help enable more growth in your business? Is it helping you get connected to more of those agency partners? What are you kind of thinking as you're stepping into the second half of 2025?
Yeah, and again, I'm a learner mentality person, and also very bidirectional. So what I love about working with all clients is knowing that, okay, here's the knowledge I bring to the table, but knowing that working with that client, I'm going to learn something from them, right? And so in that process of, going off and being an entrepreneur, you go to market with kind of one scope of a service or a scope, a range of services. And then that's where I've learned what the real needs of my niche clientele are, and realizing there's an abundance of opportunity there to really hone in and engage the community in a lot of these services that are already in the community to be well, and utilizing all of our resources and knowledge and expertise in, again, marketing operations and data systems in order to effectively help communities and organizations achieve those goals.
Oh, certainly. Yeah. No, I could definitely see that as you know, start to scale, right? Some of that IT operations infrastructure starts to kick in, and how do you service that business at scale, and make sure, like you said, everyone has a tailored experience and everyone's happy about it too, right? So,
Yeah.
I
Wow.
was good.
Good stuff. What would you, Chris? I know you finish up each podcast with that final take from this interview.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't know if you had any of the last questions,
No, not it.
but yeah, we talked about a lot of great topics here in today's show. What are some key insights that you want to leave our audience, whether you're, a marketing team within the government agency, or maybe you're just an early marketer from a medical firm, right? Um, what's some insights that you could leave our audience today?
Yeah, I think some of the key insights I would say is, one, if marketing seems like you don't know where to start these days, you're not alone, right? There's marketing has evolved from, the phone book and billboards and TV commercials and radio commercials to all these different, whether we're doing influencers or digital marketing, still doing, printed marketing. There's so many different ways to do it. And it is overwhelming, right? So if you feel overwhelmed, that's okay,
Mhm.
but finding that marketing firm that I think is a fit for your organization and what your needs are, and don't be afraid to kind of ask them and see, what would be a fit for you. I think the other thing too is always focus on, be very clear and know what is your measurable outcome that you're trying to seek, right? And know the difference between um awareness, right? You just want people to know you're out there. Here's our brand, here's our company, here's our organization, here's what we do. And what a reasonable measurement looks like for that.
Yeah,
And then also if you're doing, we call them conversions, right? So you're getting people to sign up for something, buy your product,
right.
know definitively what that is. And again, is how are you going to measure it, right? So that you feel success. So much like organizations and companies, they want success and achieve goals with marketing, but we haven't defined, they're not defined, right? And
Yeah.
so really being clear about what the goals are. And then two is your operation set up to actually help you achieve that? Because a lot of times organizations will have marketing goals of new client attrition, but their operation actually isn't set up to absorb or support those new clients, right? And then three is, know your different audience segments and realize that you could have 20 different messaging for the same product or
Mm.
service,
Yeah.
right?
Really
Depending
get
on
granular.
how broad and differential your audience is. So, I think just knowing those things, I think will help kind of relieve people of feeling like, oh my God, this is so overwhelming. No, this is what to expect.
Absolutely. As we're wrapping up, I know that you have one thing I wanted to make sure you plugged. You have your own podcast. Would you share with the audience kind of what you've been cooking up? Uh,
So I do partner with Workplace Theater and we do a podcast. We interview different leaders throughout the community in various aspects of health and
that's great.
how they lead change in healthcare perspective within their community.
That's amazing. Thanks for sharing. So
Yeah, absolutely. It's two fellow podcasters, or three fellow podcasters. Go figure, you know. So, best place we can find information on you. Where can we go?
SBEmediaco.com.
All right. Well, fantastic. All right, Chris, great show. And go to uxbright.com to check out more information on Christopher. Appreciate it. That was a special simulcast of the Neil